Okay. So this was the our viscosity index calculation. Slide is visible. 12 number slide. Slide number 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now going to the sample numerical. Numerical is there. So this is the numerical. You can see. So here you can have a two data is given. So oil sample under test has a viscosity of 64 seconds at 210 degree and 564 seconds at 100 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so test oil is having a, we have to only consider the 100 degree Fahrenheit data for our calculation, and U value will be 564, and then our Gulf oil is having a uh, viscosity of 774 seconds at the 100 degree Fahrenheit. So Gulf oil, that is L value will be 774 seconds, and Pennsylvania oil is having a 100 degree Fahrenheit have a data of 414 seconds. So H is 414. So after substituting, your value is coming at 58.33. Now thing is, what is about the 210 degree Fahrenheit data? So this data, you remember, you don't have to use for the numerical. This data don't use for the numerical. So this data is a kind of calibration. That is, the experiment was carried out properly or not. So that can be confirmed or ascertained by seeing this data, 210 degree Fahrenheit data. So it is a kind of calibration, and remember it is, you don't have to use the 210 degree data for your numerical part. So only use the 100 degree Fahrenheit data that is supplied and substitute properly. So L, H and U, you remember L, H, low, high, U means unknown. It does not mean low means lowest value, H means highest value, U is unknown. It is not that way. L is the low viscosity index standard. Viscosity for the low viscosity index standard. So that is at 100 degree Fahrenheit. So that is the Gulf oil value is your to be substituted at the place of L. Okay, same thing for H, and the U is unknown. So this you remember. So many students make this type of simple mistakes, and numerical becomes this marks, whatever is given, it becomes useless. So this is a very, very simple numerical. In the place of L, you remember it is the low viscosity index, viscosity of the low viscosity index standard oil. Just wait for 1 minute. Okay, so this is our slide number 13, sample numerical. We have discussed. My voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we will transfer to our attention to the second property, which is the saponification number. So this one, you recall your organic chemistry knowledge. So you have learned a alkaline hydrolysis of ester. Okay, ester, alkaline hydrolysis. So ester functional groups. So that is hydrolyzed by aqueous alkali. Okay, so that was a organic concept, organic chemistry concept. So here, basically in the saponification number, this concept was uh, extremely old concept. This was more than, it is being used for more than 100 years. Okay, so this is the saponification number determination. Basically, in our oil, this is a whatever ester functional groups that are present, that are hydrolyzed by alkali, that is potassium hydroxide, and your long chain carboxylic acid potassium salts will be generated. So this is a, before going to the definition, just I am trying to make you know this is our, say, if our doing this is our saponification. In place. Okay, so this is the saponification. This is means your potassium hydroxide will be making the alkaline hydrolysis of the ester functional group or groups that are present with KOH. So this is done at a high temperature condition. Okay, and it takes around 1 hour or 1.5 hour time it takes, and as a result, your this is a carbon-carbon chain. There will be a COO minus K plus. So long chain carboxylic acid potassium salt. So this is called, or this is the so-called soap will be generated. Okay, potassium soap is generated. So this is the saponification is this one. Okay, so here I have not taken any, written anything about the carbon chain, whether it is C12 or C14, but only you remember this part is the carbon-carbon chain. This part is a long chain, carbon 12, carbon 14, carbon 16. So this type of long chain, carbon chain is present, and at the end of the chain, COO minus COOH, basically that is potassium salt of that one. That means COO minus K plus. So that is your soap is being formed here. Okay, so this is our saponification. So here now let us go to the slide part. So here this is the definition, number of milligram of KOH. So mg means milligram. Okay, so people are examination, people are writing mg, someone was writing capital M, small g. So that means mg, that is magnesium it becomes. Okay, so this is mg, this small m and small g, it is milligram. Okay, so don't at least milligram, this much things you should recall or you should remember up to the exam. Okay, people forget very quickly, so don't forget that much. Okay, excluding your name, you are forgetting everything, so that is not a very good sign. So at least you remember this is number of milligram of KOH. Someone was writing number of KOH required. KOH is not a measurable, countable quantity. KOH, number of KOH required to saponify. So that type of definition we are observing in the examination very, very frequently. So, writing anything will not be helpful to bring your marks. So what you are writing, that should be proper. Okay. So it is number of milligram of KOH, potassium hydroxide, required to saponify the fatty material present in 1 gram of the oil. Okay, so that is the definition of the saponification number. So this one, someone can determine this one by normal burette pipette method or burette pipette titration. So here a determined by refluxing a known quantity of test oil. Okay, no reflux. What is this one? This is a basically when a reaction mixture or a solvent, when you are heating in a round bottom flask, so with a condenser fitted at the top, so the boiling point, the boiling will be taking place with the vapor formation, and vapor will be going upward, and the condenser is present there, so the vapor will be getting condensed, and the vapor will be, after condensation, the droplet or drops of vapor will be coming back to the reaction mixture. So this will be going on for continuously. So that is the reflux. It is called reflux. This is the refluxing a known quantity of test oil, that is a certain quantity, how much gram is taken, that you have to note it down, with a known excess volume of KOH solution. So it will be excess, but it should be known. Okay, and this you can understand, this saponification is happening there, and the KOH is excess. So the KOH will be reacting with the oil, and excess KOH will be unused or unreacted. So that unused alkali is titrated against a standard acid. So standard acid is the acid whose normality is known to us. That is, we know the normality, so that type of acid is being used here, standard acid. Now this was the sample titration. So once you are doing all this step, so you will be getting here S value. Okay, S will be coming out in the milliliter. S is nothing but the titer value of standard HCl for sample titration. So whatever unused alkali you are titrating with standard acid, so unused alkali is titrated with standard acid. Standard acid is taken in burette. So whatever is the burette reading, so that is your S. Okay, so that is the milliliter. You have to consider the value. That is first thing. Second thing is a blank titration, where same quantity of solvent is used in the place of oil. So now blank titration, blank means it is a in the place of the sample, that is sample was oil. So we are taking the same quantity of solvent and exactly following the same procedure. That means a known volume of KOH we are adding, the same volume of KOH will be added, and same duration it is heated, the same temperature, maintaining the same temperature, and then the After that duration, the solution is cooled down and the titration is done with this same standard acid. So now you can understand in this blank titration part, we did not have oil. So all the KOH will be unreacted. And the
Sir,
uh,
sir, sir, can you explain the term refluxing again? Refluxing term, sir.
refluxing is basically, it is a, when we are heating a solution with the keeping a condenser. Condenser, you know, I think, do you have any idea what is called condenser?
No, sir.
This is basically whenever you are heating the solvent, so solvent will be getting, or a solution when you are heating, so solvent will be getting vaporized and it will be going upward. So vapor, you are heating, so vapor will be going upward. That is, you may use a round bottom flask, you may use a conical flask type of container, anything can be used. Now if the solvent is lost, so your reaction mixture will be becoming dried. Okay, so now to take the to reaction proceed properly, so the most cases, maximum cases, the reactions are basically in the solution phase. Okay, if you gas phase also some reactions are working, so we are not going to that. So in general, many or most of the reactions are happening in the solution phase. So now to keep it in the substances or reactant in the solution, so you must have some quantity of solvent must be continuously present there. Now if you are heating continuously, so solvent will be going out, then your solution will be dried. Now what is the uh, how to stop this one now, or how to what is the solution of this problem? That solution we are heating, reaction mixture we are heating, and solvent is going upward, but solvent volume will not be reduced. So how it can be done? To do that, a condenser is used. Condenser is basically a glass, uh, a long glass apparatus, okay, which is basically in which your solvent will be going and there will be a cooling solvent there. So that cooling solvent basically will be helping to cool down the whatever solvent is going upward. And once it is cooling down, the solvent vapor will be converted to liquid again. And it will be drop by drop again, it will be coming back to the reaction mixture. That means your heating is also going on, your solvent is going upward, that is true, and but it is getting condensed. So condenser, I think you may not have seen that one, so just wait for 1 minute, I can show you that one. It is a glass apparatus. Just 1 second, I am showing you. Hmm. This tab is visible. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now
sir.
it is visible.
Yes, sir.
So
Visible.
these are the condensers. This you can see. Okay, let me use the pen. So this is our right hand side. You can see one uh, different types of condenser is there. Okay, sorry. Now this one I think is better one. You can see uh, Liebig condenser, Graham condenser. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
These are the different types of condenser. Basically, in the lower part, this where the name of the condenser is written. Basically, you can see in that part. Basically, your reaction container. Uh, hello. So this reaction container is attached or connected that lower part, and the you can see two outlet are there, and one top there is another opening. So two outlet. It is the these are the two. I cannot edit this one. So these two outlet are basically two outlet. We use a solution to cool down the vapor. Okay, so vapor will be coming inside this uh, part, and it will be condensed as it is in the close vicinity to a cooling liquid, and it will be going back to the reaction mixture again. So there are different types of condenser. It is different requirement and different situation. Depending on the one can use the different types of condensers. Okay, so if your uh, solvent is very volatile, so in that case, that this Graham condenser someone can use. If it is a normal type of aqueous solution, Liebig condenser someone can use. So these are the different types. So these condensers basically, once someone is fitted, so it will be bringing back the this solvent in the reaction mixture again. So this whole thing, that is vaporization of the solvent and then going in the inside the condenser and then condensing back to the solvent, condensing to the solvent and coming back to the reaction mixture. So this whole process was generally called as reflux. Okay, so this is a term which is in several chemistry paper or different journal or different even reactions. This name is mentioned here as reflux. So that is a basically heating without losing the solvent. Okay, so it is attachment will be such a way or arrangement will be such a way so that solvent will not be lost. Okay, so
Thank
you
you,
know
sir.
that if you are heating a solvent, solvent will be getting evaporated and it will go to atmosphere. That is the normal concept. But putting a condenser at the top of the reaction vessel, we are basically bringing back the solvent to the reaction mixture again. And it is continuously, it will be going on for maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So this saponification maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Generally, timing is may be enough. Someone was asking some question. Any question you are asking? Okay. So here, if you are doing the blank titration, so this B you will get as the whatever HCl titer value, that is HCl your Budomet reading in milliliter, so that you can substitute in this formula. So B and A is N is the normality of the HCl, that we are using standard acid. That means from some source we already know the normality of the HCl. Standard, any solution which is called as standard solution, that means its strength is known. Okay, normality, molarity, whatever, that value is known to us. So that is called standard solution. And standard acid means it is that acid normality is known to us. And the W is weight of the oil in gram unit. Okay, so now if you are substituting as per this, whatever unit I have written here, so you will be getting the saponification number as per the definition. That is number of milligram of KOH that is required to saponify fatty material present in 1 gram of the oil. So that number of milligram of KOH that you will be getting from this value directly. And what about this one, 56.1? Anybody can guess what is this one? What is this 56.1?
Molecular weight of KOH.
This is your molecular weight or equivalent weight of KOH. Molecular weight or equivalent weight of KOH. So this is the formula. Now importance, why we are doing this, all this work, why we are doing. Nothing is that animal and vegetable oil, they have known saponification number. That means this saponification of number of these oils are already present or already there in some book or in some standard website. It is already existing. Okay, now if you do the experiment with your whatever is your apparatus, whatever is your unknown oil, if you are doing the saponification number, if you are finding, and if you find any deviation from this value, so that indicates a probability and extent of adulteration. So adulteration means, in a simple way, this is a basically an unusual or unnecessary mixing or a impurity mixing with the substance. So that is called adulteration. So you might be in English paper, if you are reading paper, you might be seeing adulterated food. So that means that food was mixed with some impurity or some unusual material. So that is adulterated food. And the same way, this is adulterated oil. That means the unnecessary or the unusual materials or substances has been mixed, or impurity has been mixed with that particular oil. So that whether it is a kind of checking the purity of the oil, we can do this saponification number experiment. It is by using burette and pipette, someone can find this one very simple manner. Also, it can help us to find whether it is a animal and vegetable oil, or it is mineral oil, or it is a compounded oil. So this information we can get from the saponification number experiment. Now we'll see a numerical and then we'll stop for today. So this is the numerical. 1.6 gram of oil was taken in a conical flask and 25 ml of alcoholic KOH. Why alcoholic KOH? Any idea? KOH is highly soluble in water. Now, when you are mixing that aqueous KOH solution with ethanol in 1:1 volume, so that gives alcoholic KOH. Now, thing is, why alcoholic KOH is used here? Any idea? Okay, so this is a oil. We know oil will not be soluble in water. Okay, this I think you might have seen in your real life also. Oil will be, it is not soluble in water. So if if we are taking the oil and using aqueous KOH, so oil will be floating and reaction, saponification reaction will not be taking place. Now, to solubilize that oil in the same phase in which KOH is present, this is basically alcoholic KOH is used here. So alcoholic KOH is helping to, or basically solubilize the oil in the same phase in which KOH was or KOH is present. And then once they are in the same phase, then only your saponification, that reaction will be taking place. So 25 ml alcoholic KOH was added and refluxed. Then the resultant solution consumed 2.8 ml of 0.55 normal HCl. Okay, and then the next line, it is the 20.8 ml of same HCl was used for blank titration. So you can understand our B value is 20.8. Without any hesitation, you can identify this one very simple way. And S value is 2.8. And normality of HCl was mentioned as 0.55 and weight was given as 1.6 gram of oil. So if you are substituting your saponification number 347.12. Okay, so this is our saponification number. Someone can do this experiment in with the help of simple burette pipette and a condenser round bottom flask. These things are required, so it can be performed. Okay, so we'll stop here. Any question is there?
So, so you said we use alcoholic KOH to solubilize the oil in KOH itself?
Solubilize the oil in the same phase where KOH is present.
All right. So like basically the phases of KOH and the oil are
Actually,
same.
you remember ethanol and water, these two are miscible. These two, basically, if you take ethanol and water in any proportion, 1 ml ethanol and 99 ml water, or 99 ml ethanol with 1 ml water, any proportion, ethanol and water, they will be mixing with each other. And this thing actually will discuss this phase concept in the phase equilibrium part. So they will be mixing and they will you will get a single homogeneous phase there. Now when oil is also coming in that phase, then only your reaction will be taking place. If oil is floating above, then there will be reaction won't be place, because oil is in some other phase, KOH is in aqueous phase. So they will be like, oil will be, if it is say mostly it is lighter, so it will be, many cases it is lighter, so it will be floating above the aqueous phase, and a whole day if we are heating, so nothing, no result will be coming out there. So now only and only that oil must be coming in that same phase in which KOH is present. So now that thing is done by using ethanol, C6H5OH. I think it is known to you. C2H5OH. This is your ethanol. So ethanol is it's very, very well-known organic solvent. It can many substances are highly soluble in ethanol. Okay, so this is our ethanol. Now water is your this. So ethanol and water, they come in the same category of solvent. They are considered as hydroxylic solvent. Anyway, that is, don't go that much. So let us limit our justification here only, that they are miscible and ethanol is helping to or making the same phase in which KOH is present, and thereby the reaction will be only continued after that. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to stop here. So,
Sir,
tell me.
sir, in this case, what will be our solvent? It will be ethanol or water?
Main solvent is ethanol. So I think you are thinking about the blank titration. So blank titration, we can use a same quantity of water. Okay. Quantity of water can be used, and ethanol has a boiling point of around 84 degrees Celsius. Water is having a boiling point of around 100 degrees Celsius. So if you are using the mixture, so that will be a boiling will be obviously below 100 degree will be taking place. Okay. So
Okay.
water is, ethanol is more volatile. So whenever your this vapor pressure inside this one is reaching the external atmosphere, external pressure, so boiling will start. So it is immaterial whether this vapor pressure is due to H2O molecule only or it is C2H5OH plus H2O. So whenever it is mixture, vapor pressure is reaching that external pressure, boiling will start. So as ethanol is more volatile, boiling will be obviously taking place below 100 degrees Celsius. That is obvious. And the blank titration, water, that is generally very small amount of oil is taken. You are taking 1 gram or maybe 0.9 gram or maybe 1.2 gram or 1.4 gram. So that much of water won't make much difference in the system. Okay. So for blank titration, water can be taken whatever. In this case, 1.6 gram of oil, in the place of 1.6 gram oil, you can take 1.6 gram of water. That can be taken. Tell me.
So I'm unable to get this why we are using alcoholic KOH. I mean, earlier we had learned in organic chemistry that aqueous KOH gives rise to substitution reaction while alcoholic KOH gives rise to elimination. So is that what you're trying to point out?
That reaction, alcoholic KOH can give substitution. That depends on the what is the other reactant. It is a reagent. Okay, if you are considering that reaction, whatever elimination reaction will be taking place with this substance, but you are only looking at this alcoholic KOH part. Okay, but you look the reactant, that is your whatever in your organic chemistry, whatever compound was written there, so that is a different compound. Okay, so a reagent can be used in or in different situation. It may work or it may act in different way. That is possible. So alcoholic KOH, I agree. With one situation, it does the elimination. That is correct. There is nothing wrong in that statement. But thing is, in this particular situation, it is not the elimination. It is basically saponification will be taking place with this particular situation. It is because in that case it was a different reagent. Your reagent was alcoholic KOH there also, here also, but your reactant in that case it was some bromine derivative you were using. I think you can remember that one. So the elimination was taking place, or maybe some situation is the substitution also, alcoholic KOH, some situation OH, it does some substitution also. Okay, but that substitution is taking place at the, whether the bromide is present, so that will be substituted. So here is the, we are considering the basically the hydrolysis, alkaline hydrolysis is being taking place in this, under this situation.
All right. Thank you, sir.
So that same substance, it can be used in different reaction, in different, it can react in different way also. It is say if you are using sodium, okay, sodium, if you are putting say in water, sodium will be generating hydrogen gas and reaction is very vigorous, a blast will be taking place. That is okay, that we know. But if you are using sodium amalgam, so in that case, that same sodium will be very continuously, it will be generating hydrogen gas and the reaction was not vigorous. Okay, so that controlled way, that reaction will be amalgam, sodium amalgam plus water, that reaction goes on. So here also the which reactant is used here, what is the condition is maintained. So that reactant is the most important thing. So here the reactant is a basically an ester will be getting hydrolyzed here, alkaline hydrolysis.
Excuse me, sir. So we have a class.
Sure. Okay, so you are stopping here. You can continue in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.